So then as monastics, and also lay people, yeah, there's a variety of certain vows. Yeah? So generally speaking, we classify vows in a threefold division, right? So we have vows for self-liberation, we have vows we call the Bodhisattva vows, and the Vajrayana vows, right? From the vows for self-liberation, we have those of the monastics, monks and nuns, right? And we have those of the lay people, like the 5 lay vows, for example. Bodhisattva and Vajrayana vows, they're the same for ordained or lay. Yeah? So that's kind of the 3 sets of vows we generally have. Then what does that mean? A vow is basically a kind of promise not to engage in something negative. So the Buddha had this insight in karma. The karma is not magical or something fabricated by the Buddha. Is just interdependence, right? There's the dependent origination within the continuity of consciousness, right? As we have external dependent origination of a seed closer into a plant and it produces a fruit or a flower, right? So same in our mind, we have the cause and effect relationships, right? Which produces a particular result. For example, getting angry produces kind of disturbance. So that means there's a correlation between a state of mind and the result of that state of mind. Yeah, so that's what we call cause and effect relationships within the continuity of consciousness, or karma. So the Buddha saw this and analyzed it and said, okay, we all want happiness, don't want suffering. That's innate in all of us, right? There's no person on the planet who doesn't have this wish. So then the Buddha said and understood this law of cause and effect. So if you live in accordance with this law and you create the right conditions, you create cause for happiness, and especially you abandon causes for suffering. So in that aspect of abandoning causes for suffering, that's why we have those vows. So a vow is not kind of a prison. Actually, living in the vows is kind of gives actually more happiness, because it's very clear for yourself. You don't engage in this kind of negative behavior. Yeah? So you might just not engage in negative behavior. For example, act of killing, right? A human being or a mosquito or whatsoever. You might have the wish not to engage in it. That's one thing, but you might also promise not to engage in it. So the promise actually becomes kind of a vow, right? And that promise, you promise from now until a particular period of time. So as long as you have that promise, you actually have this commitment and you have this kind of virtuous state of mind. Yeah? So that's a benefit, so to say, of living in a vow, not merely not engaging in something negative, but also promise not to engage in something negative. So then living in the vows, right, helps us not to engage in negative behavior. For example, not killing. Yeah, that's one of the 5 lay vows, for example. So if you promise that, it's for yourself very clear that you don't engage in killing. And in particular, in the root vow is then not human being. So that means that it's not that difficult to keep, right? So often people think, oh, vows are so difficult to keep, but there are also certain causes and conditions or factors that needs to be complete to completely break a vow, right? So often, especially in the West, people get too tight when it comes to vows. They think, oh, too dangerous. But actually, it's not that difficult at all, right? So you have not killing, not stealing, right? Not engaging in sexual misconduct, not lying, and in particular it's about spiritual attainment. So, I mean, lying by itself is also deceiving others, harming others, same as killing, same as stealing, right? So that means that if you merely not engage in it, that's good, right? But if you then promise not to engage in it, that's even a level higher in the sense you make a more stronger commitment for yourself. And then the amount of good deeds you create is more, right? Yeah, and then the vow of abandoning intoxicants is basically, as His Holiness indicates, when for some people it's difficult just to take a little bit, then His Holiness says, as long as you don't get drunk. Because that's, when you get drunk, you lose conscientiousness and you can do all kinds of things that can be harmful, right? So what you actually, if you study the vows well, it's actually not harming others and not harming yourself. So that's a very good way the Buddha gives a method to actually help us to become happier human beings and to progress on the stages of the path to enlightenment. Yeah.